back to another episode of Quarantined Coaches. We are at Wingate University with pitching coach, recruiting coordinator, Dusty White. How are you?
Hey, Josh, I'm great, man. Just, enjoying making the most of what we can right now. And I just appreciate you asking me and taking some time to talk some baseball.
Well, we have a surprise actually for you, something that I haven't done with anybody yet, because I don't like when guys keep secrets from me. And there's a secret about today, and I have found out. So I'd like you to take out your phone for a second. Just take out your phone.
Hey, babe. Nolan and I just wanted to bust into your interview and wish you a very happy birthday. You deserve to be celebrated. You are the best husband, daddy, and coach. We just love you so much. We know that you are putting so much time and energy into the season, and it's such a bummer that we can't see the fruition of everything. But we're so excited for next season. Roll Dogs. We love you. Have a happy birthday.
It's awesome.
Did she tell you that she was sending that over?
No, she did not. She got me out of bed last night at exactly midnight and went through the entire almost 11-minute video containing, friends, family, current players, former players, coaches. It was really special. It meant the world to me for sure.
She said that you were going to kill her. She sent me a message on Twitter. And I'm like, well, let's photobomb him, get you and the kid. She's like, Friday is his birthday, so happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, let's get into this more your style stuff here, okay? Wingate, one of those schools that not many people have probably heard of, right? Outside of the immediate region. But a really good school and a good conference with good baseball. So give us a quick breakdown of that.
Yeah, so Wingate is about 25 miles east of downtown Charlotte, so not too far from the big city. We are a Division II program. We have, roughly right at 4,000 students. You take in grad school and commuters and things like that. We're probably pushing just over 5,000 students right now. The campus has grown tremendously in the last several years, especially in my coaching time. I graduated from there in 2010, and we had probably just over 1,000 students. So I started coaching, back at my alma mater in 2015, and it's been, a rapid growth. New buildings are going up all over the place. We've done a lot of facility improvements. So it's a great time to be involved in Wingate for sure.
Small private school, expensive, or can it be affordable for guys out of state? Well, it's private, so it doesn't really matter if it's in state or out of state. But can it be affordable?
Yes, so great question. And if you go research, you type in wingate.edu and you pull up the cost of tuition and room and board and meals and everything, you're probably going to be alarmed at how expensive it looks. However, what the school does, like most private schools, we offer great academic scholarship packages. Obviously, for better the grades, more money, so on and so forth. And the school also does a great job with its financial aid packages for various income type families. I would say most of our players receive a large amount of academic scholarship and a pretty good chunk of financial aid. And then we start talking athletic or baseball scholarship. A lot of times once all three are put together, there's a good chance it's cheaper than most in-state schools.
So do you guys have a nice field and cool uniforms? Because that's always important, right? Do you win games?
Oh yeah, we've won a lot of games the last several years. We had a really, really good season going so far this year. But we've averaged 35, 36, 37 wins the last several years. The field is in great shape. I was just there a couple of days ago checking out, making sure everything's okay. The surface is immaculate. We've got turf and foul territory and on home plate, the main wear and tear areas. So it kind of cleaned up to when the field got redone a couple of years ago. We just got a brand new bullpen constructed over Christmas break. That's turf with, catcher's boxes, all kind of stuff put in. Turf behind the mound, turf in front of the mound. It's special. It's one of the nicest bullpens I've ever been around. And regarding the uniforms, everything that we wear is Nike. So footwear, clothing, uniforms, you name it, the guys get taken care of. We've got a white uniform, a Vegas gold uniform, and a Navy uniform. We're looking at doing a gray uniform this year. It's the top of the line gear that Nike has to offer as far as the material. The guys love it. It's a lot more comfortable and looks better than the stuff I grew up playing in, for sure.
Well, this doesn't sound like a quote-unquote D2 team, right? I think these days we easily start to categorize programs as D1, D2, D3, and then that label to the general casual fan means something. I've watched you guys operate. You are getting players that are D1 caliber players. The metrics line up with D1. Everything about them says, okay, I've seen kids go to you guys over Division I offers. So, first of all, what kind of player are you looking for when you're recruiting in terms of like a metrics or talent level?
In terms of metrics, it's I've had a lot of success on the mound recruiting guys from the 86 to 88 mile an hour range with the mid to upper 70s breaking ball. I'm not picky on particularly what type of secondary pitch they have. I prefer them to have, at least one, if not all three, meaning breaking ball and change up. Obviously, strike zone command is huge. Guys need to, fill up and attack the strike zone. When I'm out watching, I look at their demeanor, how they handle themselves, how I communicate with them on the phone. From an offensive standpoint, or I guess position player standpoint, Coach Gregory really, really likes athletic guys who can play all over the field, meaning more than one position. Obviously, we're not going to expect a right fielder to play shortstop or second baseman to play left field, but, an infielder that can play on the left side, play second base, corner guys that can play both, outfielders that can play all three. And if a catcher is versatile, can play a little bit in the outfield, then we like that as well. Some of our guys, our recruits this year, are a little more power bat oriented. Last year we were more speed oriented. Guys that could handle the bat, run really well, do some different things. So it just kind of depends year to year, but we like to have a pretty good mix, just like most guys, I'm sure, as far as, contact guys, power guys, doubles guys, just a little bit of everything. And we've had a lot of success. Coach Rand's helped me a lot with recruiting, our other assistant coach, and we've had some really, really, really good recruiting classes in my time at Wingate. And, that's just a result of a lot of hard work, a lot of time on the road, a lot of seeing games. I'm not afraid to really dive in with, some bigger schools, the Division I schools or whatnot, to go after a player, because in the end all be all, baseball is baseball. We're all looking for the same thing. We're all looking for guys that fit our program, fit what we're looking for, and are going to help us win games.
I think it's just natural to say, okay, D1, D2, D3 is kind of like MLB, AAA, AA, single A, but that's not how it is. And I think that a lot of times we think there's just this drop off of talent, and there's really not. At the higher end Division IIs in the Southeast, there are plenty of Division IIs that will take it to Division Is around the country. And there's plenty of JUCOs that would take it to Division IIs. It's crazy. But do you, I don't hear many people say they're willing to mix it up with the Division I schools, though. What makes you feel like, I'm willing to go after the same kids they're talking to, and we can get him? What is the selling point that makes you say, we'll go right in there also?
Well, it's the fact that, a lot of people, I get all high school kids, most high school kids, they want to play Division I. I get it. I did it. I spent 2 years at UNC Charlotte before transferring. But, it takes a special kid that wants to say, I think Wingate's the right fit for me. I like the school. I like the coaches. I like the campus. They have every major available that every big Division I school has. So it's just about finding the right fit. I like the kids that are interested when I reach out to them and are appreciative of the attention they're getting. And most of the time, once kids step on campus, our campus, they're really blown away at the fact of how beautiful it is and the facilities and how nice people are generally walking around as we're going through campus with them throughout the day. And I just think they're shocked and, overall pleased with campus and what the university is about.
I would agree. I don't know if I'm allowed to endorse it or not, but like, I think I told Coach Gregory, like the first time I went to Wingate, I had just moved up here, and I'm thinking like, oh, Monroe, North Carolina, like this is the boonies. Like, I wonder what this place is gonna look like. And I like, boom, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So that definitely it does have that wow factor. It was really, really impressive there. Would you say though, when you're looking at guys out there that you can get that are mixing up with Division I's, is it really the guys that are getting offered, just academic money, Division I's, or no baseball money, kind of walk-on spots that you're like, pull them down to you and say, hey, we can give you baseball money? Is that where the line is, or you go even past that?
No, I'll go past that. I mean, if they're getting offered by some in-state Division I schools, that doesn't, deter me away. I've lost a lot, just like any college coach. We hear no a lot more than we hear yes, but our job's to find them and keep finding them and build the roster accordingly. Obviously, most of your Power 5 talent, that's a little bit of a different breed. We can all identify that pretty regularly. But, your mid to upper major, it's baseball is baseball. It's the same. We're seeing, 88 to 92 running out on the weekend from every other arm we're seeing. So we're trying to match it with the same thing. I turn on, watch some midweek games for Division I when we're not playing, and I'm seeing the same level of competition. The only key difference in the game is, or the school is, we're just a little bit smaller than some of the bigger in-state schools for sure.
So you're in North Carolina, where I think, what is there, 21 or 23 Division I schools? Like, what is it?
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot, and then there's a lot of Division II schools. Like, so what's the strategy recruiting-wise for you? Because it's a rat race here. Do you go in-state, out-of-state? How do you get it done? Do you go to the big tournaments elsewhere?
Yeah, we're not afraid to really go anywhere. I mean, we've rented cars, hopped in an airplane, went north, went south, went west. I mean, it's what college baseball is all about. In-state.
Wait, you're saying this little D2 team in Monroe, North Carolina gets in airplanes and goes out west and recruits?
We haven't went out west to recruit from an airplane. We went to South Florida in an airplane to recruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, D2s are flying around on airplanes too, huh?
Yeah, it's all about finding the right deal for sure. Rental car is obviously a cheaper way to go, but sometimes airlines run some good deals. And driving to South Florida 11 hours it's a little bit of a drive when you do it in 2 days and got to be back the next day for a game. Sometimes it's tough to do. So flying obviously makes it more convenient.
Well, I say that sarcastically, knowing that you guys are the real deal, and other people out there need to understand, like, yeah, this is how it operates at these levels as well.
That's right.
So what about I think one of the things you and I had talked about is a lot of families in the recruiting process are so caught up on sticking in state a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
Just because the number one thing, financials, it seems to always make more sense, right?
Yep.
What about a state like North Carolina, though? When you have that many teams here, should that make them scared? A kid from Georgia or Texas or wherever, okay, kid from Illinois, should they be scared to dabble in schools in North Carolina because there's so many, or should that be a reason to come check it out more?
I think if you're a high school kid and you're kind of getting started in the recruiting process and the school's interested in you and you might be interested in them, I think the big thing to do is kind of look at their roster online, see where the majority of the kids are from. If you're the only one from Illinois coming to North Carolina, there may be, kind of an uneasy feeling for sure. But North Carolina is, like you said, there's a lot of Division I think there's 13 Division II and, 15 junior colleges. So there's a lot of college baseball, not include the Division III and NAIA programs as well. But it's a big state, but I don't consider it that big of a state for that many schools. So it can get pretty competitive at times. But regarding the in-state, obviously it is more cheaper to go to an in-state school wherever you're at. Like us being a private program, that does not matter. We could recruit North Carolina. We can recruit Florida, Texas. We could go get a kid from Alaska. The price tag of admission and everything included is going to be the same, which is a neat feature. But like I said, the overall price tag you see online is not the end-all be-all when it comes to finances.
Right. I think that's a good point you make too about like when you're going to look at out-of-state schools, you might as well look at the private schools a lot of times because those are the same prices for everybody. You're on an even playing field there.
Correct.
So let's go to the baseball stuff. As the recruiting coordinator, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is in terms of identifying players, you don't just go out to a field randomly and turn your head around and see who you can find, do you?
Not normally, no. It's happened before. Going to see a Legion game that nobody really goes to up here, it seems like anymore. Having an off day or an off time frame at a tournament and, going to a field you've never really been before to see a team that you've never heard of or seen. It's happened where I've kind of seen a player, but, a lot of times, especially the big tournaments, a lot of stuff's mapped out specifically by the hour on who's on what field and who needs to be where and, who needs to be seen.
How do you decide, I'm sorry to cut you off. So how do you decide where you're going to go, who you're going to see, where does that plan get mapped out?
I think ultimately it depends on how many coaches are coming with me is determining what we can do. If Coach Rand's with me, we can both be at two sites. If Coach Gregory's going, that makes things easier. That's typically what we do in Atlanta at the WWBA. We'll have a guy stay at the complex. Two of us will kind of bounce around, or two at the complex, one bouncing around to see different games. But a lot of it has to do with or where we're going to be. Recruiting season, for high school players in the summer was supposed to be starting here in a few weeks with some smaller tournaments in the area that we always get out and see. And, we're not, typically known for jumping right in on a player after the first time we see him. We like to see him a couple times, identify him, get to know him, see him at his best, see him at his worst, the ups and downs of the true character of the player. So by the time some of the bigger tournaments, Atlanta and maybe some of the ones down in Florida we go to have come back around, we've seen them, a time or two before. So it makes it a little bit easier knowing who we're going to see, what we're going to see. Maybe we'll send somebody off the coaching staff who has not seen them before to, give them a second or third set of eyes on them. So it just kind of depends on the event. And like I said, who all's with me or who all's traveling. And, the more times we can see them, the better it's going to be.
So do you guys sit in the office and then figure out, here's the events that we're going to this summer, and then go from there? Or is it, hey, where is player A going to be this summer? And so we go to that tournament, or kind of a mix of both?
I'd say a mix of both. That's a good question. A lot of, we have typically right now everything we're planning on attending this summer mapped out, and the costs and hotels and all that stuff ready to go. But obviously we're all up in limbo as far as what's going to happen. And then, obviously there's going to be some days and maybe a Sunday or a weekend where we don't have anything mapped out, where something can kind of get subbed in at the last minute. We get a phone call from a coach or, a player that's kind of been in contact with us we haven't really seen but need to see, and he's playing, relatively close, so we can just hop in the car and go for the day.
Do you go sometimes and just follow maybe programs around, not necessarily players, but hey, these are certain travel programs or organizations that I have ties to, so I'm going to go watch them play, even if I don't know anybody on that team?
Yeah, that happens from time to time. Especially like I said, early on in the summer, obviously a lot of times we've already communicated with the coaches, but some of the players we've haven't seen play, weren't able to see them play during the high school season or whatnot. So early on, yeah, we know the name of the program. We've recruited out of the program before. We've had good success with the previous players. We have a good relationship with the coaches. So yeah, sometimes we'll just show up. Most of the time the coaches do a good job sending out the rosters and the pitching rotations and all that stuff. So it makes it easy on us. A lot of times we can just show up and know we're going to see a good ball game for sure. That happens a good bit.
Do kids need to be with one of those bigger named brands in order to get identified? Because you're saying like, yeah, there's programs out there that we'll go see, right? So then it sounds like if you're not on one of those bigger name programs, you're at somewhat of a disadvantage. Yes or no? I mean, is it a red flag if a kid's not with a good program with just some random throw together team?
I'm not going to say it's a red flag, but whatever program the kid's on, I think they need to be making sure they're going to the right events where they know college coaches are going to be at on a regular basis. They're not necessarily playing in all the big tournaments, but playing on ones where they're playing on college fields, I should say. So there's always going to be a coach present. Sometimes with a lot of the bigger programs, they have so many teams nowadays. They have every color it seems like to come up with for their team name.
Right.
And it's tough to see all those teams, especially, sometimes they're not always playing at the same place or the same event. So, I get it that sometimes they have big names, but, a lot of times, good players play on sometimes teams you've never seen before or heard of.
Well, now some of these huge programs have started naming their teams based off the coach. Like,
correct.
Baseball team Rudd, because I'm the coach. So, yeah, but and that was a conversation I was having with somebody yesterday or the day before, another coach as well. Is it not good for a player to be in an organization if they're not on the top one or two teams? I mean, do you ever look at a roster and say, okay, here's this program. Oh, that's their fourth team. I'm not even going to go there.
That's kind of difficult to answer. Like I said, a lot of times we've communicated with the coaches.
Okay, let me put it a different way for you. All right. Do you open up the roster sheets and you see, okay, here's this baseball program, and there's two of the teams that automatically those are the two rosters that I'm going to look at first.
Right.
And I'm going to look where they are first.
For sure. That's kind of the nature of the beast we're in. I mean, if it's we know there's some, college level talent on that team, then that's where we're going to be for sure.
Is it natural though? Isn't it human nature to say, okay, this is the third team or the fourth team. This is not, going to be my priority. Isn't that natural?
For sure. Absolutely. Yes.
So, I mean, because that's what parents are wanting to figure out and balance. Am I better off playing for the program with the name, even if I'm not on their top one or two teams, or am I better off just playing kind of for, a more local put together team that goes to these big events? Like,
yeah, I mean, if you're not happy or if you're not going to be on a top tier team and that's something that's important to you, I would say as a player or a family, then yeah, playing with a smaller, more local team for sure that's going to play in the big tournaments is probably a better option to take. But I'm sure there's plenty of cases out there where if the kid loves baseball, he loves baseball. He doesn't care what team he's on. He's playing for a good program with the name on the front of the jersey. So sometimes that may be all that's important to him.
And all you need that kid to do is reach out to you ahead of time and send you some information, and doesn't matter what team he's on. Is that correct?
That's correct. If he puts together a good email, seems interested in us, includes all his personal information about his, his height, weight, all the metrics, stuff like that, his grades, his test scores, all the stuff that we need to see to actively recruit a player, includes a little bit of video, offensive, defensive on the mound. It's put together well. There's no verbal language in the background of the video, which has happened from time to time. It's if it's put together well, like I said, then and it draws our interest, we don't care what team he's going to be on.
That's where I was trying to get to. I took the long route there, but ultimately, doesn't matter what team you're on, kids. Okay, just work hard, send coaches emails, they'll come see you. If you're at, you just make sure you're going to the events, though. The events where you guys are is the big thing. Okay, so you go to a game, and typically you're locked in on, you're there for a reason. There's a couple names that you're there to see or that you're following. I know you're a pitching guy. What's something a pitcher could do to stand out to catch your eye? Maybe not who you're there to watch, though, but you're like, oh, damn, look at that kid. Like, what's something that they could do to stand
out? I think the way, just the overall way they handle themselves on the mound. I get it. Everybody's going to have bad days. There's going to be long days of the summer where it's 100 degrees. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You're on your second, game of the day. Just the way they handle themselves. The umpire's strike zone may be non-existent. It may be huge. You have to find a way to compete. Whether you're on the mound, whether you're in the box, our program's kind of built around players that end all be all. They compete. They compete against each other. They compete against the game. So it's just a matter of always finding a way to show something, to whether your velo is a little bit down, where let's really attack the strike zone. Let's really locate. Let's show a great secondary pitch. If my velo's up, let's put hitters away. Let's really, really be confident in what we're doing. There's tons of things they can do to kind of, show that they're a college level pitcher.
Catch your eye randomly, because that's kind of the question here is, you're there to see somebody specific, but how could that random one catch your eye? What about a hitter? Same kind of idea, body language, presence?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to, see a specific arm one day and there's a hitter in the box, obviously if we're seeing an arm, we're taking notes on everything going on, defensively, offensively as well, just not the pitcher. And you kind of look down and maybe a hitter's been on the barrel for 3 or 4 straight ABs, a couple hits, maybe a walk. That stuff draws our attention. Just, consistent hard contact. It happens all the time, especially from an offensive standpoint. Somebody you're not really familiar with, and you look up and he's been on base every time. He's stolen some bases. He's flying around the field, causing havoc. I mean, that's what we want to see. So,
you mentioned seeing an arm you want to see. I mean, when you're making your schedule for a weekend, it's usually based around arms, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's
the strategy that I hear often, or not the strategy, whatever you want to call it. The scheduling plan is you base the schedule off of arms and hope that you run into the bats while you're moving around. Is that kind of the way it works?
Yeah, that's how it works, a good amount of the time, especially if you've got, a full day planned of, 5 games and maybe 10 pitchers you need to see, a couple on each team, a couple in each game. Obviously, you've got to go see those arms because, most programs have anywhere from 16 to 20 pitchers. So, we've got to, recruit those spots fast and get the ones we want. So, chances are if it's a good arm on a good team, you're going to see it. You're gonna lock in. You're gonna see, their non-position players or 10 if they're allowed an extra while you're watching that arm. So we do typically map out our games and schedules around the pitchers we've identified as guys we're interested in or we need to see. We've kind of heard word of mouth, and then if we're every now and then we'll have a game off in between or something where we can just kind of watch hitters or kind of bounce around from field to field and just see what's out there. But typically the more structures around who's throwing on what field or what high school or what college, and we go there and identify everything else behind it.
Don't the hitters get the shaft then? Doesn't this process become more difficult for them? I mean, it is. Well, it's definitely more difficult for hitters no matter what. Half the roster is pitchers. So, but
they shouldn't. I don't think they get the shaft. I mean, if they know we're there. So, if 9 times out of 10 we're all paying attention, we may be cutting up and joking around with each other sometimes. We've got to do that to keep things light because it makes for long days if we don't. But we've all got a stopwatch in our hand. We've all got a clipboard in our lap, and make loud contact. If you want to,
you like the towel around your neck too. You're a towel.
I'm always a towel around my neck, a bucket hat on my head. if I'm sitting down, I probably got a towel on my kneecaps because burnt kneecaps are tough to overcome after the first day for sure.
What do you want to see out of a high school kid? High school kid. My kid is yelling in the background. What do you want to see out of a high school kid? Velo, command, movement. If you had to rank those.
Obviously, I think that the more velo you have, the more important, because it speeds up the timing process or the reaction process of the hitter. The less time he has to adjust or to get on time, then the better off you're going to be. I get it with us being a Division II program, we're not always going to get the high end velocity guys. We've got several now. We've been fortunate to develop some of those guys, but movement, obviously, a very important thing. A lot of the natural movement's tough to teach, so if a kid's got it, he's got it. Obviously, strike zone command, fastball to both sides of the plate. I love to see high school guys, pitch with a fastball in. I think it's a lost art, especially in today's development. So it's all an adjustment between the years as far as your mentality and getting comfortable doing it. Because I can tell you, as soon as you step foot on our campus day one, you're going to throw a fastball in and you're going to get comfortable doing it. But, obviously a feel for a secondary pitch, breaking ball or change up, just guys that have an idea on what they're doing. Well, I've taken the chance on some more pitchability guys with 3 pitches that, aren't low velocity, I guess mid velocity range guys for what we typically have that can really, really pitch. They pitch backwards. They can throw any pitch in any counts. I've taken some projectability guys that are, long-bodied frames that haven't quite filled out yet, that show some fast twitch in their delivery, that maybe not have everything synced up yet, but are going to get stronger. And when they figure it out, it's got a chance to be pretty electric. So, it just kind of depends. We like to kind of, recruit some guys that are going to contribute right away. We've seen their stuff. We know they can help us. Guys that can eat up some innings with some pitchability stuff that we think might get a little bit stronger, a little more velocity, and then guys, 1 or 2 projects per se a year where, you got to spend a lot of time with your hands on them and develop them.
You talk about guys that can pitch backwards and being able to recognize that. Does it drive you crazy when coaches are calling pitches or when kids or catchers are calling pitches? Like that part of it, I always wonder. Who do you want to call pitches?
I guess it depends. At times throughout the fall, we let our catchers call pitches just to speed the game up and so I can take more notes and just kind of focus on what the pitcher's doing. But I've seen a lot of good pitch calling out at games. I've seen a lot of bad pitch calling out at games.
And how much of an effect can that have, though, on a recruit?
I think it can have a pretty significant effect because, if a kid is supposed to be, we've gotten word he's 85, 87 with a decent breaking ball, and I go out and I pull out my sheets and my chart, and I'm kind of, recording every single velocity by inning, and I look and he's thrown, 20 pitches in the first inning and 16 of them are his breaking ball. And I'm sitting here saying, well, his fastball is not where it should be. I think that essentially kind of slows his arm up a little bit. I get it. He might have a good breaking ball, but you could essentially be hurting the kid because you're telling us he's a certain velocity and he's not that velocity. Well, let's let him pitch off of his fastball, which, a lot of pitching coaches in the country are going to do at every level. And show the off speed a little bit later. Let's locate the fastball first and, kind of go from there. I've seen that happen a lot too.
How much are you able to see around bad pitch calling, though, from wherever it's coming from, whether it's the kid, the catcher, or Like, because if a kid, let's just say a kid's got, just getting tagged, but the stuff is there. It's just terrible pitch calling and like slowing a kid's bat up or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's happened before because we've all been around the game for a long time. We know what should be called or what should be thrown in specific counts. So that does play a role, I'd say, from time to time. But that kind of comes into the role of how he carries himself, how his body language is, all that stuff. And then maybe it's just you'll really find out how the kid competes. Does he show up with his teammates? Is he mad at his catcher? I leave it with my pitchers every day in a game. When I'm calling a pitch, they have the opportunity to shake off and really throw what they want or what they believe is the right pitch. Now, sometimes
it better be a damn good pitch.
Yeah, I mean, if it works out, then hats off. But if it doesn't go, or it does speed a bat up and it gets tagged into the gap, then we might have a conversation. So I think it kind of goes both ways. You at the end all be all, don't show your teammates up if it's a bad pitch, but you got to compete and find a way to get outs too.
All right, I want to know something that a player, a parent, and a travel coach can do that would make you walk away from that recruit. Something that's an immediate no, thank you. Within reality, though. Okay, I'm not talking about pull out a gun and shoot somebody here. All right. So,
yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen when I'm out of game.
Okay, so a player, you're out recruiting a player. What's something that you could see on a field that's an immediate not for me kind of guy?
I would say immediate. He walks on and off the field. He kind of looks disengaged. He doesn't want to be there. Maybe makes the last out of the inning, kind of walks back into the dugout. The pitcher's throwing his warm-up pitches, and he's just now getting to center field. That stuff kind of ticks me off. I'm sure it aggravates a lot of people. So that's kind of a big pet peeve for mine. No matter how good it's going or how bad it's going, look like you're enjoying what you're doing, get on off the field and hustle at all times.
The pitcher can walk, though, right?
Yeah, I like both. I like sometimes for a pitcher to take his time, even though now in college we're on a clock in between innings, so it's a little different. But I get it. Sometimes you want to take your time. Sometimes you've got everything going. You want to get on. You want to get things going and keep attacking the hitter. So I think it's a fine line, but I think it's a lot of times who the pitcher is and kind of his way of the way he goes about things for sure.
Fine line between needing to take your time and acting cool. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely, for sure.
Okay. Something that a parent can or has done out there on the circuit while recruiting that you're like not going to be a fit for me?
Well, sometimes there's 25 coaches watching a game. Sometimes there's more. Sometimes, there's less than 5. So depending on the environment, you can kind of get a grip on what's going on around you. I think the biggest thing a parent can do to, get across through his son's name is, I guess, yelling his emotions or frustrations, whether it's with an umpire, with a coach, with his son, another kid, another parent, just causing some type of disturbance, off the field.
Can I build off that, though, and ask you why? Because how is that a reflection of the player? Because there's plenty of kids out there who are like, oh, geez, mom, dad, stop doing that, So why is that something that's like, not going to fit here?
Just, because most of our parents at Wingate and our families are all really, really close. And there's going to be a time where, if your kid hasn't had failure yet, or he's had everything go his way, when he gets into college, it doesn't matter what level, he's going to fail. He's always not going to be on the field, whether it's in the fall or in the spring. He may get injured. There's going to be a time where a parent might not think, it's the right decision or, everything is to the best, but, that's where the coaches have to make sure we're doing everything possible. And if there's an altercation going on or, displeasurement in the stands behind us, that's the last thing we need to worry about from a coaching standpoint. It's like I said, it gets a little bit different. The speed of the game goes up. If you're an 18-year-old freshman and going against a 22-year-old senior, it gets a little bit more difficult. And if a dad or parent's not happy, you've got to keep those emotions to yourself, especially as you get into college.
All right. And then a travel coach or a travel program, something that you've seen where you're like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable pulling guys from this program, or I don't trust what's coming out of here.
The one thing or a couple things I've seen, which one would you prefer?
I'll take as many as you're willing to give.
All right. I guess one thing is giving college coaches false information. It happens from time to time. It's frustrating, especially overselling a kid, because, you know, we all get excited when you start throwing out different, you know, tangibles and measurements for sure. And then you're not telling just one, you're probably blasting out the information to multiple. So if you get a crew of guys there and the kid's not even close to what you're saying, that's very frustrating. So that kind of writes us off pretty quick. And I think another big thing is how you have your kids arrive to the field and how they prepare. You know, a lot of us don't like the look of a kid showing up, and especially taking BP in the side cage in flip-flops, his shirt untucked, his hat not on. You know, there's the whole appearance thing. If you're a travel coach, have your kids, you know, wear your turf shoes, tuck your shirt in. They don't always have to be in pants if it's before the game. I get it. And then when they're preparing in between games, you know, a lot of the college game is how you prepare. So you've got a lot of time before practice, a lot of time after practice, a lot of time before a game. If you're not preparing the right way, it's going to be tough to be successful. And I believe a lot of that takes place when you're 15, 16, 17 years old. So that starts with the high school coaches and the travel coaches for sure.
Where is the line for overselling, right? Because, I mean, look, we know that being generous is one thing, but you guys all know, right? You see somebody sends you something, says, oh, he's 84, 85. So in your head, you're like, okay, he's 82, 84, right? Same with GPA. Oh, he's got a 3.4 GPA. Okay, that's probably a 3.25, right? when is the overselling point? Like, what's that threshold? 5 miles per hour difference is like, yeah, this wasn't even close, you're lying.
Yeah, I would say if you say a kid's 84, 85, 86 and he doesn't touch 80, that's a big no-no. And yes, it's happened. It's happened.
Of course it has, and it's going to continue happening too.
Yeah.
Coach White, happy birthday, man. I guess last question, what's the best birthday gift you ever got, going back to as far back as you can remember?
Oh, man.
Thanks for being invited on quarantine.
Well, you know, my birthdays are typically, you know, a little bit different, to just like anybody with this time of year. Most of my birthdays are spent on a ball field. So wins are obviously the best gifts. I got a new Apple Watch this birthday, so that was pretty cool. A really, really nice gift. And obviously the video my wife made was tremendous, and I'm very grateful for that. It was very thoughtful and creative. But, you know, a win's a win. I love wins. I love being on the game, around the game. I love being on the field. We're supposed to be at Carson Newman right now for a weekend series. So, you know, we're still all getting used to not being able to do what we normally do. So
I wish you guys would just say, everybody's like telling me, oh, we're supposed to be here, we're supposed to be there. Where's the coach that's saying we're supposed to be kicking their ass right now? You know?
Well, yeah, I'm never going to say that about another program.
Carson, be over there pounding them right now.
Well, of course, I wish we would pound everybody, but you know, that's the game. Sometimes it doesn't always go how you map it out or how you want it to go.
Well, I didn't hear your invitation to quarantine coaches in the top 5 birthday gifts, but that's all right.
Well, yeah, it's when we were talking about this last week, I didn't realize I was thinking Friday, great, I'm in, and then I'm like, dang, Friday's my birthday, so you know, it beats sitting in the house and watching cartoons with my little man. He's probably asleep right now for his midday nap. You know, I got to hold him for a while this morning, so you know, all the time I get to spend with him is great. But this has given me, a different thing I've been able to do for being on quarantine for sure.
No doubt. Well, thanks again, Coach. Stay safe. Hopefully, I'll see you soon this summer.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it. Good talking to you, man.